which many people may not think they have, can actually be discovered and then utilized to problem solve and create things in their reality that they may think are impossible.
Mm-hmm.
And to prove to them that impossible is only a word that exists if you believe it's a reality around you, that really the impossible is something that can happen.
Mm-hmm.
I always like to quote Robert Oppenheimer's famous telegram that he sent to General Grove when the government was arguing. He was building the atomic bomb, even though it's kind of a terrible thing to think of right now. But I always liked his simple little telegram to General Grove, which simply went, "The possible is easy. The impossible takes a little longer." And that's how I've always looked upon things.
Uh-huh.
In other words, it's not impossible, the impossible. It just takes longer sometimes to happen. But if you work at it, as that famous song about the ants and the dam goes, if you keep working at it, even the greatest dam can crack. So don't think of anything as being beyond the ken, so to speak, of what you're trying to do. Always be positive about what you want to do and just plan, focus, and concentrate on it, and just let it be considered not something that's some dream, but that is actually real. And as you see it as real, it becomes real. And that's what people have to kind of shift and change about. And that's another thing that happens when you do this. You suddenly begin to discover that your creativity, which people may say, well, I'm not very creative, they suddenly discover, yes, they are, and it blossoms in front of them. And they suddenly discover they can do things creatively that they never thought they could do before.
Right, because they have all this freedom of expression.
That's right.
Wow. This sounds like paradise.
Right.
You know, that some of us have been taught, like me, you know, when I was growing up.
Right.
A beautiful paradise on earth.
Right.
That we're moving towards. This will involve the removal of, definitely the removal of this government and other governments. So what will happen to them?
Well, there's plans set up right now. This is one of the things the Federation is working on, which is to remove these governments in a way that is legal and totally above board, and allow them to leave. And of course, a lot of these governments around the planet have become so corrupt that getting rid of them is no longer a process of can it happen, but when. And one of the things that I have done is in the last 2 months I did a DVD which can be obtained on the website, which is called The Truth About Right Now, in which I explain and talk about all this stuff we've just been talking about in the last few minutes, about the removal of these governments and the changes and the abundance and all the things that are very close to happening.
Oh, okay.
And so one of the things that I want to have everybody who's hearing me talk right now is to remain in a positive mode. It's very important to remain in a positive mode and not get too frustrated about things. You may sometimes feel a little down about things because they may not happen exactly as you want them, but you just have to keep going forward, and you'll see that stuff you thought was impossible will happen.
Right. And to stay in our joy.
That's right.
Yeah. And that can be challenging, but I do know it's possible.
Exactly.
And I know we're going to see a lot more than we've seen in these last few months, you know, with the earth changes you're talking about. You know, we may see all kinds of things that we've never seen before. Right,
right. This is a time of miracles and changes, to quote the Bible again. And so we have to expect all of that. And of course, the formal bringing of first contact, the landings, is of course probably to me is the greatest watershed, the greatest miracle of the recent history of humanity. And so I look upon contact as being the end of this process that we're all engaged in right now. There will be, from time to time, there will be things happening. But the massive landings and all that, you know, that's not going to happen like tomorrow or 2 weeks from now or something like that. What we have to understand is that this is part of a process, and that this process is a very important one. It involves a whole series of things. It's not just one little thing happening. Contact involves things to do with our government, and involves things to do with abundance, and involves things to do with our transformation in consciousness and involves things to do with the transformation of Mother Earth.
Mm-hmm.
So it's part of a massive, complex process. And a lot of this process, people will see bits and smidgens of it, because unfortunately, especially in the U.S., a lot of the media do not report everything in this context. They'll just give you a news story, and you have to kind of take other news stories or other things you discover or other things that you're told and put them all together, and you begin to see this patchwork developing into a sudden, incredible, powerful message, which before, taken in its short pieces, parts of this patch quilt didn't seem that important.
Right.
But if you start seeing that things happening in China are similar to things happening in the fires in the Midwest, and that cracks happening within Africa that some people think are going to create oceans, the same similar things are happening in the Permian Basin in Texas. And if you see that certain things are happening in Canada on the Laurentian Plateau that are other mirrors of this, if you see that left and right, all these things are happening, then you have to understand that indeed there is this change. But if you keep seeing these small pieces or large pieces of the puzzle not even revealed to you, like what goes on in Europe and Asia or Africa, is largely ignored in this country.
Right. What I see, the more chaos or seemingly chaos that I see in the world, through our media, it's another indicator that major change is here, that we're going through this transformation. And there's always chaos as that happens. And also, like your updates from the Galactic Federation and Spiritual Hierarchy that you spoke about on your website has the behind-the-scenes information to help explain, what people are not seeing in the media.
Well, what they try to do in the updates is to help people weave the process together and stay positive about what's happening in this thing. Because it's really important that people understand that a lot more things are happening that you may not know about. And just because you don't know about it and you can't suddenly get a giant 300 or 600-page fine print report thrown down in front of you, doesn't mean these things aren't happening.
Exactly. It is a wealth of information that you provide, Sheldan.
I thank you for that. Yeah, well, that's part of this messenger job, representative job that we've been alluding to from the beginning of our little wonderful interview here. As always, Shireen, you are marvelous and wonderful in the way you weave this whole thing together, so I appreciate that.
Oh, thank you. Well, there's about 30 seconds left.
Let me give out the website again.
Okay.
The website is www.paoweb, PAOWEB, that's all one word, .com. And you'll find all the information about how to contact me there, and also how to get in hold of all the products we've been talking about, and most importantly, the updates. Because I think people should really start reading the updates, go over them, understand the process of what's happening, and they also can see my books there, and that'd be another wealth of information so they can go forward in their process. I have Your First Contact and a book about the galaxy, your galactic neighbors, so that people can understand this particular procedure, First Contact, that we've been talking about here today.
Right, and they can also learn about the planetary activation groups around this country and the world. They can join other like-minded people to talk about this.
Right, and that's, of course, the book Salamat Jah. Would highly recommend that book off of the website for everybody to have and read thoroughly. Excellent
book. I want to thank you again, Sheldan, for being on the Isle of Light. What you're doing is just amazing.
Well, I can say the same thing about what you're doing also, Shireen. Thank you very much for all that you do. Okay. And of course, bringing forth everything with this Isle of Light program to inform people about what's going on planet Earth. So I'm glad that I'm a part of all this from time to time. So I really appreciate having our time here again today. I'll say thank you very, very much for allowing me to be on your show today.
Oh, certainly.
Thank you for joining us at the Isle of Light radio show, where we bring you excellent guests from all over the world and a wide variety of topics for your enlightenment, entertainment, and empowerment. For details and updated radio schedule information, please visit my website at theisleoflight.com.